Hello, good evening. Hello. Oh, okay. All good. Okay, everything okay? Okay. Thank you. Mhm. So I'll switch on once we start the meeting. Thanks. I'll just put it on the mute. I'll put it on the mute.
Good evening, Samir. Good evening, Rahul. Sir, good
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
good evening, sir.
हमसे बेहतर हम बोलो वंदे मातरम आत्मनिर्भर हम बोलो वंदे मातरम शून्य में संभावना आता हमें है देखना विश्व विश्वविद्यालय तक्षशिला विश्व को पहला मिला। शल्य सुश्रुत प्रदान है, दुनिया के लिए वरदान है। जग को हमने ही सिखाया वसुधैव कुटुंबकम। आत्मनिर्भर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। हमसे बेहतर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। योग राम बाण है, सदियों का ये ज्ञान है। ताज अपना ताजमहल हुनर की पहचान है। जाना जग जगदीश से, पौधों में भी तो जान है। रमण ने लहरा दिया रमण प्रभाव का परचम। आत्मनिर्भर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। हमसे बेहतर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। स्वदेशी अपनाने लगे, हम विदेशी भगाने लगे। खोजों का है ये सिलसिला, जो चांद पे पानी मिला। यूएसबी भी हमने दिया, मत पूछो क्या क्या किया। हर गोविंद पे है नाज हमें, दिया डीएनए का राज हमें। देश की स्वदेश की है खोज पेंटियम। आत्मनिर्भर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। हमसे बेहतर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। आत्मनिर्भर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम। हमसे बेहतर हम, बोलो वंदे मातरम।
मैनकाइंड फार्मा, दिल से स्वदेशी, जान हिंदुस्तान।
Good evening, all distinguished doctors and my colleagues present over here. On behalf of Mankind Specialities, a very warm welcome to all of you for joining us and spending time with us in today's Sunday evening. Mankind is known for serving life. Today is about reinforcing our commitment towards serving life. It means providing quality and affordable medicine to all the individuals across the country. This evening surely promises to blend a recent medical innovation where affordability meets the highest global quality standards. I welcome you all to be a part of this exciting journey today. With this, I welcome Mr. Atish Majumdar, President, Mankind Specialities, to address the august audience. Thank you very much.
A very good evening to you, doctors. Today, it is a very important day for all of us at Mankind. A day on which we embark on a new journey. A journey which is but a manifestation of our commitment to bring the best in global quality for our Indian patients at an affordable price. 12,000 of our colleagues meet you all day in, day out at your clinics. The time that we get from you is normally used to talk about our brands. And we value the time that we get from each one of you. Today, I decided to use the time that I am getting with you to talk to you a bit about our company, Mankind. Mankind began its journey from a small town in North India, Meerut. And over a period of 25 years, we have become India's #1 company by prescriptions and #4 by value. At Mankind, we believe we are a company which is extremely people-centric and at the same time progressively scientific. We manufacture out of 21 manufacturing sites, have 3 R&Ds, and operate in more than 30 countries today, including the US. Nearly 400 scientists walk out of our R&D at Manesar, and you'll be glad to know that we were the second company in the world and the first company in Asia to crack dydrogesterone. In addition, we have more than 90 ANDAs under development and 3 NCs in the therapy areas of NASH, rheumatoid arthritis and diabetes under development. As much as we pride ourselves on our business achievements, yet we believe the true measure of our success is the contributions that we make to the Indian pharma industry and the contributions that we make into creating an Atmanirbhar Bharat. Over a period of 15 months, we have seen the world really under the pandemic. And at the same time, the world has recognized its true heroes of mankind, a fact which we have always known as mankind. In this fight against COVID, mankind and mankindians have stepped up and made a contribution of more than 234 crores, of which 125 crores have gone to the families of martyred doctors, chemists, nurses and policemen. The fight against COVID continues, and we at Mankind know that we will step up every and each time to make our contributions in this fight. At Mankind, the ethos is of serving life, and this ethos is inspired by your doctors and manifests in the solutions that we provide to our patients. I now present to you an audiovisual which has key messages from our key opinion leaders.
My best wishes to Team Mankind for launching DMF grade API.
Global seems to have marketed recently a high quality dapagliflozin, and it's supposed to have not only unquestionable affordability but also quality. I wish the Mankind team best of luck with this new product.
My hearty congratulations to Mankind Specialities for bringing out this global quality world-class dapagliflozin at an affordable cost. I wish the Mankind Specialities and its team all the best in this great journey of innovation.
I take this opportunity to congratulate Mankind Specialties for launching DMF grade API dapagliflozin to global market. The molecule has global quality, great degree of affordability and high degree of purity. All in all, this is a great step in the service of mankind by Mankind Specialties. Thank you very much.
Mankind Specialties have launched dapagliflozin with DMF grade API at a very affordable price. My best wishes to Team Mankind. Thank you.
All the best to Mankind Specialties for the launch of this dapagliflozin, which is world class and economical.
So dapagliflozin is a very good molecule, and I have a lot of experience using it in India, and I'm very happy to learn that the DMF grade API dapagliflozin is being introduced in India at an affordable cost, and I wish Mankind all the best. Thank you.
Delighted that the wonder molecule dapagliflozin will be available in India in many shapes and forms, and now that newer technology is being used like DMF technology, I expect it will benefit our patients even more. I look forward to this and I wish you all luck.
It's a great news that Mankind Specialties have launched DMF grade API of dapagliflozin for the first time in India. Congratulations, and I wish all the best for the Mankind Specialties.
We appreciate Mankind Specialties for bringing affordable dapagliflozin, which is of world-class quality, will be available to our country. I wish all the best to Mankind Specialties and his team.
I would like to congratulate Mankind Pharma for bringing this molecule to India, which matches world-class safety and efficacy standards. And I wish you all the very best.
I'm happy that there is an introduction of a drug which contains dapagliflozin and metformin, which will offer the benefits of dapagliflozin to a wider variety of patients so that they derive benefit which was earlier not possible for them due to cost limitation. Thank you.
I really appreciate the efforts taken by Mankind Specialties team in striking a perfect balance between quality, affordability and safety of a DMF API grade dapagliflozin. I wish all the best for the Mankind Specialties team.
I really appreciate the efforts taken by Mankind Specialties team in striking a perfect balance between quality, affordability and safety with DMF grade API of dapagliflozin. Wish you all the best, team Mankind Specialties.
I congratulate and appreciate Mankind Pharma for bringing dapagliflozin, the SGL2 inhibitor, with latest DMF technology with world-class standard, affordability and availability for the Indian population.
Appreciate the Mankind Specialties for bringing the world-class global quality dapagliflozin drug with API and DMF grade at an affordable Indian price.
Congratulations, Team Mankind Specialties, for launching DMF grade API dapagliflozin for first time in India. My best wishes to Mankind Specialty team.
My best wishes to Team Mankind Specialties for launching India's first DMF grade API dapagliflozin for the first time in India. All the best to you, Mankind Specialties, for your new launch.
Today, I am specifically talking about one drug which is going to make a revolution as far as the Indian practice in diabetes is concerned, and that is dapagliflozin. With the DMF grade, with the affordable and the best possible formulation is brought by Mankind. So all the best to the Mankind Pharma for this.
We appreciate Mankind Specialties team for bringing this world-class molecule dapagliflozin with all its known cardiovascular and renal benefits at a very affordable price to the Indian market. So all the best, Mankind Specialties.
I truly appreciate Mankind Specialties for bringing world-class and global quality dapagliflozin at a very affordable price. Wish you all the best, Mankind Specialties team.
Wishing Mankind Specialties all the best in the attempt to bring dapagliflozin at the most economical price.
Compliance is the key to achieve control and prevent complications in diabetes management. A good quality of a drug and affordable price are required to achieve compliance. I congratulate Mankind Specialties team to bring dapagliflozin of a world-class standard quality at an affordable price in India.
SGLT2 inhibitors are a very important group of drugs which have actually changed the management of not only diabetes but also prevention of kidney disease as well as treatment and prevention of heart failure. And it's good to know that dapagliflozin of international quality is available at reasonable price in India now with the launch of Mankind's dapagliflozin.
For all the doctors who gave us this encouraging messages, and for all the doctors who are listening to me today, and for all those doctors who are not able to attend this CME, I want you to know you are what inspires mankind. I have one more audiovisual to show to you, and this video talks about API DMF grade and our corporate commitment to bring the best in quality at affordable prices.
Success. We all measure it differently. A doctor by the progress made by their patients. A virologist by the identification of a new virus. A hospital chain by the growing number of centers. But at Mankind, our measure of success is delivering the US FDA and European Medicines Agency approved quality drugs to all Indian citizens at an affordable price, which also aligns with our core philosophy of serving life. The first step towards that goal was to set up a world-class pharmaceutical production plant in alignment with the regulation standards set by US FDA and EMA. The next step was to submit the Drug Master File (DMF) to both US FDA and EMA. It provided confidential and detailed information about the facilities, processes or articles used in manufacturing, processing, packaging and storing the medicines. Both US FDA and EMA, known for their uncompromising regulatory expectations, approved our drugs based on the facts provided in the DMF. Our international quality drugs were welcomed across the globe. And finally, we took the step that was close to our heart, making those same international quality drugs with the finest of the DMF grade APIs available to all Indian patients at a price that was completely affordable. And it was their little smiles that inspired us to bring our best-in-class DMF grade API medicines like dapagliflozin, rosuvastatin and bisoprolol within their reach. And this is just the beginning. We are adding many more medicines to the list because at Mankind, serving life is a mission in progress.
I now have the pleasure and honor of inviting Dr. Uday Jadhav, our medical director, to kindly address the audience. Dr. Jadhav needs no introduction. He is consultant cardiologist at MGM Hospital, Navi Mumbai, and also honorary professor and faculty at the MGM University of Health Sciences. Dr. Jadhav, please.
Good evening. Today, it's a privilege to share with you our thoughts on dapagliflozin, the pioneer. Dapagliflozin has been one of the very important drug in the therapeutic armamentarium of type 2 diabetes. So, as on today, SGLT2 inhibitors have become the gold standard and the guideline-directed medical therapy in type 2 diabetes. If you look at these patients of diabetes, in clinical practice, most of them have risk factors like hypertension or obesity or overweight. And with these risk factors come kidney disease as the risk which these patients undergo. The progression of cardiovascular disease would lead to heart failure, and the progression of chronic kidney disease would lead to end-stage kidney disease. We are very well aware of it. And therefore, it does in terms of cardiovascular outcomes in type 2 diabetes, and that was the declared TIMI 58 study. These are exactly the patients we see in clinical practice. These are the patients who have, let's say, in primary prevention with high lipids or a high blood pressure, or in secondary prevention with heart disease or cerebrovascular disease. Typically, when we look at these patients over a period of time, this is what declared TIMI taught us, that cardiovascular deaths and hospitalizations for heart failure reduced by 17%. And also, all the major adverse cardiac events went down by about 17%. So in summary, when you look at declared TIMI 58, dapagliflozin, when started early in patients, helped in primary prevention. Those patients who had atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, those patients who had a prior myocardial infarction and are at risk for developing myocardial infarction. The landmark and the major study from Professor Dr. McMurray was the DAPA-HF, heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. In fact, this study is now what the future is going to be. In patients of type 2 diabetes and non-diabetics also, when dapagliflozin was administered, CV deaths, heart failure hospitalization, and urgent heart failure visits went down by 25%, and the worsening of heart failure went down by 23%. And the total heart failure hospitalization and CV death burden together, a reduction of about 23%, statistically very significant. But what needs to be highlighted where these were not just patients with diabetes. Dapagliflozin showed a similar result in patients without diabetes, those who had pre-diabetes, or those who had even a normal HbA1c. The reduction, the absolute endpoints for cardiovascular death and heart failure of 25 to 27% was salutary. And lastly, of course, DAPA chronic kidney disease. How do we protect our patients of type 2 diabetes going for chronic kidney disease? Such a simple and elegant clinical trial. 10 milligrams of dapagliflozin given, and the outcomes. How can we prevent the eGFR decline? Patients getting into end-stage kidney disease, renal or cardiovascular deaths. I'm proud to say India was one of these centers. So how do we place dapagliflozin today? When you look at the molecule in terms of its global presence, whether it's the United States of America, Latin America, Europe, most of the Asian continent, the results have been almost similar when we do the subgroup analysis. And what was that? A whooping 40% and close reduction in the primary outcomes of decrease in their kidney function, progression to end-stage kidney disease, renal disease, and also importantly, saving their heart, cardiovascular deaths. Chronic dialysis, kidney transplants, renal deaths, all got benefited. This is what dapagliflozin has come to in 2021. So today, we are very happy and proud to have a DMF-related molecule which mankind introduces. What is a drug master file? Though not regulatory, though not mandatory, it's a submission to the FDA about the manufacturing, processing, packaging, and storing of one or more human drugs. The active pharmaceutical gradient in the DMF that will be then represented in the abbreviated new drug application. This when submitted to the FDA enters the FDA database. It's called as the DARTS and is assigned a number. It contains the factual and complete information on a drug's product, its chemistry, stability, purity, impurity profile, packaging, the CGMP status of any human drug product. It undergoes a complete assessment. At the end of the complete assessment, the DMF file is then put on the FDA website. Mind you, it talks not just in terms of efficacy, I'm saying this, the impurity profile, both the inorganic impurity profile and the organic impurity profile are both highlighted. So it communicates the quality, safety, and efficacy of the drug that's internationally accepted. The manufacturing facilities, the entire synthesis, the entire discussion and description of the manufacturing facilities, the quality that it offers have to be included in the DMF. They can then apply for the new drug application or the ANDA with the FDA. DMF plants, therefore, have to have the highest standards of manufacturing practices to ensure the quality and the safety of the drug. As clinicians, this is the most relevant and important aspect to us. When a drug is marketed in India, we always have this question. From where it came from the originators elsewhere in the world, are we able to have the same standards of quality in terms of the purity, the efficacy, and the safety? Can we, as a country, look at it in a very ethical way and say, can we have a drug master file on this? Can we ensure our clinicians that the quality of drug you use is matching what the international standards are? Mankind has taken a step forward. The introduction of Justoza, 5 and 10 milligrams, and with metformin, is going to be the way we ensure the clinicians in India that our country can produce the highest quality of medicine as with the Mankind landmark drugs at a very affordable price. Globally and in the US, this is exactly what people look for. The community looks for a quality drug for an affordable price. And this is a challenge all over the world. And we should be very proud that Mankind and India has taken it forward. Thank you very much.
Most eminent leaders. General Malik served as 19th Chief of Army of the Indian Army. He has received various medals and various awards during his service. So he has been Chief of Army Staff and he has received Ati Vishisht Seva Medal uh, and Param Vishisht Seva Medal for distinguishing service in Indian Army and for the nation. He was Army Chief during Kargil War and he planned, coordinated and oversaw execution of Operation Vijay and successfully defeat Pakistan's attempt of intrusion in Kargil Siachen sector in 1999. His military career and subsequent membership of the National Security Advisory Board has given him considerable expertise to speak on India's security challenges. So I welcome General Ved Prakash Malik to this forum. Sir, I request you, it will be followed, we'll play a short video and then he will be live here. Thank you so much.
Good evening and Jai Hind. I consider it a privilege today to be addressing such a large gathering of doctors and healthcare staff. The kind of work that you people are doing these days is phenomenal, amazing, absolutely. So my salute to all of you for the kind of work that you are doing. And thank you, Rajiv and Mankind Pharma for giving me this opportunity to address this very large gathering of doctors, very distinguished doctors, and others who are serving the nation today. My talk this evening is about soldiers at war. Why? Because I believe that you all are the frontline soldiers today. In the war against COVID-19, you are working tirelessly, staying away from your families, risking your life, just as we do when the war is on. So you are the frontline soldiers. Do you know why pandemics are seen as wars? The term national security, it includes human security very prominently. And that includes prevention and fighting pandemics. In 1918-19, soon after the First World War, we had Spanish influenza, and that threw the whole world into a disarray. That was treated as a war against pandemic. And even today, political leaders all over the world, they are using the word war to fight against COVID-19. Why? Because this term war invokes a sense of solidarity amongst all the citizens to fight the pandemic. Can we start with the PowerPoint, please? On March 17, 2020, French President Macron declared that France was at war because of COVID-19. He suspended municipal elections and warned against any infractions. Our own Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, he used an analogy from Mahabharata. in his first address to the nation on the fight against COVID-19. And even the Chinese president, China from where this pandemic started, he also, the president Xi Jinping also declared that the fight against the coronavirus was a people's war. Next slide, please. Next. As I said earlier, war mandates everyone's cooperation. I have seen it during Kargil war, and I'm sure many of you would have also realized that. It gives a sense of urgency in mobilizing resources, research and innovations to achieve a national goal. And I can give you many examples. For example, the penicillin, that was innovation of World War II. The advances in vascular surgery during wars are well known. Helicopter evacuation. It started off first time from Vietnam War. And I can tell you my own experience that during Kargil war, we depended very heavily on our helicopters to evacuate our casualties from the mountain tops. Then blood transfusion to resuscitate the wounded. That can become and thus resuscitate the wounded more effectively. That also started off during a war. And today, of course, we all know that the whole world is chasing vaccines. Everybody is trying to make vaccine, get it approved so that we can fight the pandemics. War justifies placing restrictions. You have the curfew today, you have social distancing, you have self-isolation. Nobody minds these restrictions because they know that it is in our own interest and that of the nation. Next slide, please. Now, I intend talking to you about Kargil war story. But before that, I must mention that considered to what we are fighting today, I think Kargil war was a minor war. And you people are fighting a much longer war, more like a world war, I would say. The casualties amongst doctors and healthcare staff alone are already much more than what we suffered during Kargil war. I think in the last phase of the pandemic, I think we have suffered already more than 700 casualties of our doctors and healthcare staff. So we are all very proud of your energy, your dedication that you are showing, your commitment to take care of fellow citizens, fellow human beings. I mean, this I would consider it to be unprecedented. Now, before I start the story about Kargil war, I want to tell you about an anecdote. Sometimes, I think it was January or February 1999, there was a senior pediatrician in our research and referral hospital in Delhi. And he was posted from Delhi to Srinagar to 92 base hospital. And he objected to that posting and he wrote a complaint saying that why is he being sent to Srinagar, which is a field area, and there are hardly any children there. But his application was rejected by Army headquarters. And they told him that, no, we want you to have experience of a field area. So he went. And sometimes, I think it must have been about July 99, many months later, I met him in the hospital there, Srinagar, when I was visiting the patients. When I met him, I asked him, doctor, do you want to go back to Delhi even now? So he said, no, sir, very emphatically. He said, the kind of experience that I am gaining, the kind of satisfaction that I am having, I do not wish to go back to Delhi. This is very, very satisfying. So doctors, whether they are wearing uniform or they are civil, they are all the same. Let's get to the Kargil war story now. Next slide, please. This is a map of Jammu and Kashmir before we divided into states, different states. And POK stands for Pakistan Occupied Kashmir. You can see the photograph of the person who started the war, who initiated the war, General Pervez Musharraf. The purple line is 740 kilometers starting from Jammu, somewhere near Jammu, and going up to the place where it joins the yellow line. The yellow line is called actual ground position line, which is about 110 kilometers. Now I have marked these lines on the map, but of course there are not, they are on the ground. And you have the arrow, that is where these people tried to intrude. They intruded, in fact, and they tried to surprise us. Now, initially, I must mention to you that there was thick fog of war. Everyone, all intelligence agencies, and our own troops on the ground also, they said that these are jihadis, because these Pakistani people who entered our territory and who were seen for the first time, they were all wearing black salwar and kameez, which is generally worn by the jihadis from the other side. So there was this thick fog of war nobody knew about. And our own Prime Minister also was somehow not believing it, because only a few months earlier, he had gone to Lahore and signed the Lahore Agreement with his counterpart of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif. Next slide, please. I'm going to show you some slides of that area where we fought the war. These are some photographs of actual photographs of Siachen, where it's always teamwork which counts. You know, people have to help each other, and they go all prepared for these things. And in the month of May, April, May, you have crevasses appearing all of a sudden, for which you have to be prepared to get out if you fall into that. Next slide. Some of the helipads in Siachen sector are like this. These are all, very temporary kind of helipads. You flatten the ground and then you put a white sheet over it. Generally the parachutes which were there with us, and a helicopter lands there. The helicopter, incidentally, at that altitude can only carry about 25% of its normal weight. The altitude affects the weight that a helicopter carries. Next slide. Again, this is from the area between Siachen Glacier and Batalik sector. These are all actual photographs taken from helicopters. Next. And taken during that period when the war just started off. This is Dras sector. So we had snow on many of the peaks there, many heights. And of course, some of them were now losing snow. Next. This is that famous Tiger Hill, as it was seen in the month of June 1999. We'll talk about this later on also. Next please. So there were many challenges, and I am just describing you some of the challenges. You people also face a lot of challenges these days. Terrain, it was mountainous, very high altitude, glaciated. And I have already mentioned to you, there was total intelligence failure. Enemy intentions and the ground situation was not clear. No intelligence agencies gave us the correct picture of what the intention. In fact, they told us that Pakistan cannot go to war. There was also surveillance failure on the ground because of the winter conditions. You know, the helicopters which were flying for surveillance purposes, they could not spot anything. And at that time, we didn't have the kind of surveillance devices that our troops have today in those areas. We had shortages in weapons, ammunition, and equipment. Unfortunately, this is something which has always been persistent. Today, we are slightly better off, but those days, none of our weapons and ammunition was more than 70% or so. And then a year earlier, if you recall, we had carried out nuclear weapon tests. That is in May 1998. India was considered a rogue nation by the international community. And there was no possibility of acquiring weapons our ammunition, and really we had a tough time in trying to get something from outside. And as I mentioned to you, occurring within 3 months of the signing of Lahore Declaration, even our own Prime Minister kept wondering why and what kind of situation are we facing today. But as I said, it's just the kind of challenges you face every day. There is mutation of the virus and you face a new situation, and then you have to work out how to make your treatment more effective. Next slide, please. I have always believed, and I have always taught my students, that in all human endeavors, we must be prepared to face adverse situations and failures. And then be prepared to rise with greater determination. That is absolutely essential. This resilience, this kind of resilience, we must have amongst all our soldiers. Next slide. Well, when we had the first briefing of the Cabinet Committee of Security, and we discussed the whole issue, the Cabinet gave us a mandate. They said that, well, India has become a victim of intrusion. This is what we will tell the world. But we will also tell that India will take all measures, including military, to ensure that intruded area is vacated, including military. But then they put a rider also. They said India will exercise restraint. Its armed forces will not cross the border or the line of control. I'll talk about this part a little later again. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, now the three chiefs, we were part of the Chiefs of Staff Committee, and I was the chairman of that committee. So we worked on joint military strategy, which was that we have to reduce pressure on Kargil. That's the only way we can retake that area. We must create some kind of strategic imbalance for Pakistan. That's the only way they will reduce the pressure on Kargil, and they'll be worried about other places. We must threaten and maintain pressure on Pakistan, not just in Kargil, but throughout land border, air, as well as on sea. It was a tri-service joint military strategy. And then we also said that if necessary, be prepared to escalate the situation and launch forces across the border or LOC. In fact, my orders to the army were, be prepared, and I'll give you only 6 days to cross the border. Now, this is where, the Prime Minister's mandate on restraint, and the Prime Minister, a couple of times he spoke in public, and he spoke second time that I have told my armed forces not to cross the line of control and border. I met him in Delhi, and I told him, I said, sir, please don't make this statement public again. He looked at me and he says, why? As it is, Prime Minister Vajpayee was a man of few words, but he was a great listener. So he looked at me and asked me why. So I said, sir, suppose we cannot undo what has happened in Kargil sector, then I will have no alternative except to cross the border or LOC somewhere else. And if I come with that option to you, what will you tell me? Will you stop me from doing it? He kept quiet, didn't say anything. In the evening, the National Security Advisor, Videsh Mishra, he went to a TV channel, took an interview, and in that interview he said, not crossing the line of control or international border holds good today. We don't know about tomorrow. So that was the message which was sent to Pakistan. And thereafter, Pakistan realized that, look, we can cross the border if required, and we are prepared for that. In fact, that is what made Nawaz Sharif run all over the world thereafter. We also had to retain balance, whether it was on the northern front or on the eastern front. So we had to keep that in mind. Next. Graphically, I'm now going to show you graphically what was this joint military strategy. Can you show the next slide, please? Now, this is the place where we were having a clash with each other, the Pakistani army people and us, because, you know, by this time it was realized that these are not jihadis. As far as I was concerned, these are all Pakistani army people, which proved to be correct later on also. Next. So this is where I put all the formations and made them face Pakistan all along the international border. The Navy, as you can see in the left bottom corner, was also chasing their ships all the way from Dubai, particularly their oil tankers, Dubai to Karachi. And Air Force, as you can see, is already was in the air, protecting our airspace and also supporting the armed forces. Next slide. And this is what, as I said, made Nawaz Sharif run to first China, that somehow we should have a ceasefire. And when China refused to accept that, then he ran to USA and had a meeting with President Clinton on 4th of July. Incidentally, 4th July happens to be American Independence Day. And he sought this meeting. And when he sought this meeting, I can also tell you now that it was Pervez Musharraf who persuaded him to go there. Next. Well, I had to give a clear mission to all the, to everybody in the army and along with the Air Force and naval colleagues. And I believe that when you form a clear goal, then you must convey it in simple words to all your troops. And that is how I went and not only gave it in writing, but when I went and spoke to as many troops as possible, whether it was Northern Front or on the Western Front. And what I said in most of these meetings is the enemy has started the fight, but it is we who will fire the last shot, and the war will end only on our death. I have probably not noted this, but some people have noted. They told me, okay, sir, this is what you were saying in your standing surveillance and gathering. Anyway, this was a message which I thought our troops understood well, and they acted on it also. Now, what I said to them, this is how I think today everybody in the whole country is looking forward to your last shot. And we hope that last shot of defeating the pandemic will come very soon. And no third wave, please. Next. I'm now going to talk to you about some of the, just to show you the motivation that we had amongst our troops. And it was a great feeling. Everybody realized that the whole nation is supporting us. We were getting all kinds of letters of support. You know, it was amazing, absolutely. I don't think I've seen the whole of our country as united as I saw it during that war. Here is a letter written by a young major to his father on 19 June 1999. He says, hope this letter, dear Papa, hope this letter finds you in the best of health and spirits. Thank you for your letter. And the card, dated 14th June 1999. The father had sent that card and letter. There are two lines which have been blocked by the censor. They were indicating his brother's location, so which has been blocked by the censor when he sent that letter. Incidentally, I got the copy of this letter from this officer's parents. So he writes further, we must understand that he's talking of brother. He would have been busy preparing for his share of the game. We are also already getting ready for our next task. Our unit now has to live up to the higher expectations of the army, regiment, and everybody else. What even the chief sent a letter of congratulations to the unit. Now this letter he wrote soon after we captured Tololing, and I sent a personal letter to the commanding officer, Colonel Ravindranath, congratulating him and all the troops, and I told him, please convey it to all the troops, my personal congratulations. So he's talking about that. It was indeed an honor for our unit to have been given such a task. Hard work and a sound ethos does have its merit, don't you think? We now have to prepare harder to preserve the hopes and aspirations of our well-wishers. Please don't worry about casualties. It's a professional hazard which is beyond our control. so why worry? And then he quotes, it's for a good cause. Then he quotes Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna, he was briefing Arjun, and he said, the line which is given on the right also, it's in Sanskrit, but what it means is that if you are doing your righteous work, even if you die, you will go to heaven. And Yudh Karna is your right and your duty. Basically, it is about duty and your righteous work that you are doing. No, we are not air maintained. Food is good, and we have a doctor with us. Yes, the Prime Minister's Kargil visit was a good motivation. The Prime Minister, I had accompanied him, had visited that area, I think on the 13th of June, 99, if I remember. And then he assesses the Prime Minister, and he says, good chap. I'm quite a sight now, with an unkempt beard and Vaseline cream all over my ugly face to counter the icy rays. Please tell mother that combat is an honor of a lifetime, and I would not think of anything else unless. What better way to serve the nation? I'm proud to be in the infantry, and especially in this battalion. Take care of your health as well as of the mother. Don't worry and lose sleep. Tell a story a day of the Mahabharata to Charu, that is his wife, so that your grandchild imbibes good wishes, good values. Jai Mata Ki, your Bablu. Now I'm talking of Major P. Acharya of Hyderabad, whose father was a retired wing commander of the Air Force. He wrote this letter. This was his last letter. I met the family, and today his daughter, who was born after we lost Major Acharya, she's about 22 years old. So this is the kind of motivation, the kind of morale, the kind of feeling that our soldiers had. And I thought I must share this with you. Next slide, please. Here is another letter. It's amazing. People can't believe when I tell them that these are the kind of people who are there with us in the army, who are my colleagues. He wrote a long letter to his friend, and I got this copy of the letter from the friend. And in that, the line which really struck me was, he says, I don't know what will happen at the next moment, but I can assure you and all countrymen that certainly we will push back the intruders at whatever cost. Here is a 22, 23 years old Lieutenant Manoj Pandey of Lucknow, who was awarded Paramveer Chakra later on, who writes to his close friend. Amazing, don't you think so? Next. Now, during the war, we have an organization in the army. It's called Army Wives Welfare Association, AWA for short. Now, they decided to send sweets to the frontline soldiers. And incidentally, the AWA, its ex officio president happens to be the chief's wife, which was my wife, who incidentally is a doctor herself. She served in the army for 5 years, and later on for 25 years, she was in the ONGC as a senior doctor. So they decided to send the sweets just to see the morale, to raise the morale of the soldiers who were fighting. And this fellow doesn't know, the Jawan doesn't know whom is he writing. So he says, Adarniye, my dear Awa, आपके प्रिय भाइयों से, सैनिक भाइयों से आपको नमस्कार. हम भारत माता की चुंबी पर रहते हुए ईश्वर से आपके सुख रहने की कामनाएं करते हैं. हम यहाँ पर देश की रक्षा कर रहे हैं. हमें आपकी भेजी हुई आवा की मिठाई मिली. हमने और हमारे सैनिक भाइयों ने आवा की मिठाई खाई. मिठाई खाते हुए हमें बहुत जोश आता है कि आप इसी प्रकार मिठाई भेजते रहो तो हम लाहौर तो क्या, इस्लामाबाद भी पहुंच जाएंगे. आप लोग निर्भय होकर रहो. हम आपकी व अपने देश की रक्षा करेंगे. जब तक हम लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल क्रॉस नहीं करते, तब तक हम चैन की सांस नहीं ले पाएंगे. हम उनको ऐसी सीख सिखलाएंगे, इज टॉकिंग ऑफ द पाकिस्तानी सोल्जर, हम उनको ऐसी सीख सिखलाएंगे कि उनको सपने में भी याद आएगा कि इंडिया और इंडियन आर्मी क्या चीज है। भाइयों वो बहनों, तुम खुश रहो, हमारी तरफ से तुमको खुश करने की हम कामना करते हैं। सो ही एंड दैट लेटर, एंड आपका सैनिक सुनील, इट इज अ जवान, I think he had about 4 or 5 years service, who decided to write a letter. Again, it reflects the spirit of those people. Now, during the war, once I took the Prime Minister to 92 Base Hospital in Srinagar. He wanted to see the patients there. So as we were going and seeing the patients, he passed, and all of them, in their own way, were wanting to salute him. Sometimes people had no arms also, and yet from their face and your head shake, you could make out that he's wanting to salute. And as we passed some soldiers, patients, one of them, he called back. He said, "Sir, aapse baat karni hai." He told the Prime Minister. So I took the Prime Minister back to that bed where he was lying. It was a Havaldar from Garhwal Rifles, I remember. He said, "Sir, हमारी रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप, पहली रिक्वेस्ट ये है कि आप हमको हल्के हथियार दीजिए, तो उससे हम पहाड़ चढ़ना हमारे लिए आसान होगा। इस वक्त हमारे पास बहुत भारी हथियार है। और दूसरी हमारी रिक्वेस्ट ये है आपसे भी और हमारे चीफ साहब से भी, कि जैसे ही मैं ठीक होता हूं, मुझे वापस अपनी यूनिट में भेज दीजिए, मैं वहां पर जाना मांगता हूं." Now that is the kind of spirit that our soldiers had, and I thought I must mention to you. Next. Well, my job was also to ensure that they are all motivated. Every 6th day, I would go from Delhi to the front line and meet the soldiers, as many soldiers as possible. And you see, these are actual photographs. And of course, sometimes when you learned about people, the good work that they had done, so I would give them a small gift from my side. Well, sometimes it was a watch, sometimes something else, and to make sure that everybody's morale remains high. And I'm sure you people realize it, that when you have so many doctors working, you have to also maintain your own morale and that of your colleague. Incidentally, the top right photograph, I'm shaking hand with a colonel, lieutenant colonel. He is today the Northern Army commander, Lieutenant General Y.K. Joshi. He was a lieutenant colonel at that time, and he got, of course, Gallantry Award also. Today he is Northern Army commander. Next slide. A little bit about the war casualties. We had in actual battle 473 personnel, including 5 from the Air Force, who were killed in actual combat. There were 1,060 wounded. The types of casualties that we had, a little over 53% suffered from splinter and shell injuries. 21% victims were of gunshot wounds. Utterly inflicts more casualties than these small arms. And that is why the first lot of 53% are splinter and shell injuries. And little over 26.73%, they were afflicted by burns, fractures, frostbite, and so on. 50% of the wounded personnel, after treatment within the war zone in our ADS or mini hospitals, when they were treated, they all went back to their units. Soon after treatment, they all wanted to go there. In fact, there was a widespread, only 14 people died after they were evacuated to hospital. And the general belief amongst our soldiers was that if you can be evacuated to hospital, you won't die. That was the general belief, whether they were hospital in Kargil or the bigger hospital in Srinagar, and of course in Delhi also, more serious casualties were sent to Delhi. So that was a general belief in our doctors, that if you get evacuated to hospital, you will be all right. One of the doctors, I still remember, a captain, he sustained injuries in the battalion, frontline battalion. but he refused to be evacuated. That was the spirit. And I came to know of a surgeon who performed 15 operations in a day in field ambulance, which is a mini hospital, the smallest of the hospitals that we can create in field area. At Dras, he did that. Of course, many of them got awards also and some Sena medals also. So the professionalism and dedication that we saw of our own medical corps, it was really commendable. Next. Yeah, these are, Field Marshal Manekshaw came specially to go and look up the patients in the hospital. You have this photograph. On the left side is my wife who's standing there with him. And then the other pictures are my own visit to different places. Of course, my wife, being a doctor, her main role was to go to the hospital every day to look up the patients who were there. I must also tell you one other incident. One of the doctor who was wounded, he was lying in the 92 base hospital. Now, when the story about when people came to know that doctor has been wounded and he was there, his sister in Malaysia, who had not been able to get in touch with the brother, she got into panic. And she sent an email to my office in Delhi that I want to know where is my brother, and I'm very, So my people rang up a 92 base hospital and spoke to the doctor. And that day, when they spoke to the doctor and told him, there is a message from your sister, he said, today was his sister's birthday. So he said, please thank her and convey my good wishes to her and many happy returns of the day for her birthday. So these are the kind of stories that you have, actual stories which really touch you during war. So I thought I'll mention one of them. Next. Well, this photograph was taken soon after the war, and both the air chief and I, we were there, and you can see people, again, all the frontline soldiers and commanders, some of them. And in the background, right at the back, is Tiger Hill. And of course, everybody was jubilant. The spirit was very high, the will to deliver was high. And that is what we are seeing among the doctors also. Many of the doctors' stories that we hear these days. Next. Next slide. So that is how we got our Vijay during Kargil war. There was courage amongst people, young soldiers, officers, junior leaders. There was commitment, there was determination, and there was also leading from the front. And that is what we keep emphasizing in the Indian Army. The spirit was strong. And it's good to see the high spirit amongst so many doctors in the hospital that, one come across. Thank you very much. And I can assure you from my side that we all believe in the spirit and commitment of our doctors and healthcare staff today. We know the kind of work that you're doing, and we are also thus very confident that very soon we will get over the present pandemic. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Sir, a salute to you, and thank you very much for an inspirational talk. We have doctors from all over the country, and it was so wonderful listening to you and getting our insights. I do see a lot of questions coming from my colleagues, and some of them are very senior cardiologists. And the questions show how much faith and trust they have in our army, and the insights that you provided us were so valuable today. Let me start with some questions, and this being very informal, but it's so important because we all go through these COVID days. When your soldiers went to the front, as you said, very little ammunition, lack of ammunition, lack of weapons, very difficult circumstances to go through. It's the same with the medical doctors who work in the COVID areas, even the young doctors who have been working tirelessly, our resident doctors, our postgraduate students who work tirelessly. How is it that you motivate your soldiers who go to the front on a day-to-day basis? How do they get motivated and remain calm and composed even in those difficult circumstances?
Dr. Jadhav, I have always believed that whether it is a war, any kind of a war, or even in business, etc., I think what is most important is the human capital that all of us have in our different teams. And we all take care of that human capital. We have to look after them and we have to keep them motivated. And I believe that in India, the human capital that we have in our organizations, whether they are professional doctors or they are in the armed forces and all, it's really they're very high class. I am always proud of my soldiers, and I have always believed that they are amongst the best in the whole world. Believe you me. Similarly, I do believe that the doctors also that we have got, the talent that we have got, the capabilities of our doctors, they are amongst the best in the whole world. It's just that it depends on the opportunities whether they get it here or this thing. And motivation, I motivation, I believe, is one of the tasks of the leader. So you have to keep them motivated. You have to tell them, and that can only be done when you go and meet them again and again wherever the opportunity comes. So today also you will find that all our senior officers, when there are crisis situation, they don't spend much time in their air-conditioned offices. They all go to the front. And similarly, your senior doctors, I'm very certain that they would be also going and meeting the junior officers, encouraging them from time to time. So motivation is important, and I believe that Indians, all of us are very conscious of it. We all want to work, do something for our fellow citizen, for our country, and that is what is happening, whether it is in the armed forces or it is amongst the doctors that we have got.
Sir, I have questions almost on similar lines. One is from Dr. Mishra from Bhubaneswar and Dr. Mohan from Chennai. And it reflects on, as you just said, how senior doctors would still go ahead and work in the COVID area, or at least motivate their younger doctors to go. So what in your understanding from your experience in army, and if we can translate that to healthcare, what is your best management strategy, and how can those who are in a leadership position, whether it's in the army or in the healthcare, help to take major decisions under pressure? It's not easy to make major decisions. How has been your experience and what is your guidance?
It all depends on the kind of training that you have had, the growing up that you have had in your profession, whether it is the armed forces or the medical profession. You start off as a young doctor when you come out of your medical colleges, etc. Then after some time you do your specialization, and then you keep on rising in your career with your experience and all. So it is basically the kind of looking after mentoring that you have gone through. It is also the kind of opportunities that you have gone through. It is the kind of hard work that you have put in yourself. That all these things count. And when you grow up to a senior doctor, you then are capable of taking a decision. You take a decision at that time because you have all that experience behind you. You've been mentored all the way. I joined the army as a second lieutenant, and then as a captain, major, colonel, brigadier general, all that. and throughout you were learning from your senior officers and the kind of opportunity that you got. You have to work hard, no doubt about it. So if you keep doing these things and you keep accepting the challenges, that's another important thing. A good leader never refuses a challenge because every challenge is an opportunity. And once you have gone through those challenges and you make use of that as a good opportunity, you learn something really good. And that will help you in taking a decision subsequently.
True, sir. Very rightly said. So, Dr. A.K. Roy has a question and it takes you back in the years. Sir, when did you join the army and what made you join? What is the motivation?
Well, I went to National Defence Academy in 1955, and after spending 3 years in Khadakwasla and 1 year in Dehradun, I got my commission. And because I had joined soon after my matriculation, so I was a very young second lieutenant. I think I was not even 20 when I got my commission. And what made me join the army? One was that those days there were not many professions. The parents expected you either you become an engineer or a doctor or you go to the civil services or the armed forces. And somehow I was always impressed by the smartness of the people in uniform. And one more thing that attracted me was the opportunities to travel and adventure. That was always in my mind. I wanted to have that kind of experience. So these are the kind of, I also had a few people in the army from my own family. So that influence was also there.
Sir, we have a question from Sholapur from my colleague Dr. Patil, and he asks you that you did mention in your talk about the lesser casualties we had during the Kargil war. So in Operation Vijay, there were quite a few soldiers who were wounded. They reached the healthcare facilities but survived and did very well, despite, I'm sure, very difficult circumstances in terms of even offering the medical aid. So what do you think were the reasons?
Uh, I give full credit to our doctors. We had the biggest problem that we faced at that time was evacuation of casualties. Bringing a wounded soldier from one part of the mountain to the other side, bringing him, it's a very difficult thing to do. For each wounded soldier, you have to have almost about 6 to 8 people carrying that person on the stretcher. But we made full use of our helicopters. And I must say also our helicopter pilots were daredevils. Once they were told that there is a casualty, they would make all out effort to go and evacuate that casualty. And then once the casualty came to a hospital, whether it was a mini hospital or a major hospital, then somehow, the dedication, I think I gave you a story about our one senior pediatrician, and he refused to go back. He said, no, I'm quite happy here. Just let me look after the situation. So the doctors did the rest as far as saving lives are concerned once a person reached the doctor.
Sir, so a little on a different viewpoint, sir, that those officers and the senior personnel in the forces, when they move out from the forces or they retire and get into a civilian life, how do you is there any difference in the way they live? Is there what is the experience when they are out of the armed forces?
Look, I had put in nearly 42 years of service, not counting the 4 years of my training. And at the end of it, I also wondered for some time, what am I going to do? After all, I think everybody, man, woman, we all want to remain engaged in doing something. You want to be busy, you want to be adequately busy to be able to do something for yourself, for the family, for the society, for the nation, all these things. I wondered, but then I found that if you are adaptable and if you are prepared to
get into the civil society, seeing them how they are doing. After all, many of them doing their own professional work much better than you could even think of earlier. Then there is no problem. In my last 20 years post retirement, I have been a director, independent director with many multinational companies. I started a think tank. I have written 2 books, and I don't know how many chapters I have written in many other books, professional books. So it's your adaptability and your willingness to contribute to do something post retirement. And as long as you have that, um, I think one should not worry about it. You can get enough opportunities.
True, sir. A little on a different mode. So there have been a lot of documentaries and movies made on our wars, like the Western movies too. I don't know whether you watch those movies. So the depiction of the army in the movies, the war scenarios. How do you look at it? Is it something that is now justified? Looks good.
I think they're partly true, only partly true, because after all, a movie maker, he makes a film to be able to make money out of that. So he makes it attractive. So there are certain aspects which are correct in the war movies, and the basic aspect, I can say that. But then there is a whole lot of story which is woven. On Kargil itself, there have been God knows how many, 2, 3 movies at least. Some of them have done well because they have depicted the life but much better, more realistic, and some have not done well. So stories, war stories, somehow people like them. People are very keen to watch them. But I wouldn't say that all stories are absolutely true. Um they are, as I said, the movie maker also has to make money, so he has to weave something around.
True, sir. So there's a nice question from Dr. Rao from Hyderabad. You work with army leaders, you work with healthcare leaders, even corporate leaders, industries like Mankind, which is so very well known in our country for getting the lesser economic drugs to the community at large. What has been your experience with these three? Is there a similarity when you look at army leaders or the decision makers in corporate or healthcare?
The basics of leadership remain the same, whether you are in the army or you are outside. And amongst those basics, there are 2, 3 things that I would like to mention. One is your attitude, how you get across to the other people. As a leader, you want people who are following you to follow your orders and to do what you have in your mind. So it's basically that attitude toward the people. Give full respect to everybody, whether they are junior, senior, colleagues, etc. And have a positive attitude toward them. The other thing that I have always believed is that its knowledge is important, no doubt about it. In every profession, knowledge is essential. But what is more important, I think, is your conduct, the way you conduct with people and the way you interact with people. So that becomes a very important. And one more aspect, I would say, character. A character is important. How you have grown up, whether it's a family or in your profession. People watch you all the time. As you grow up, they keep watching you. And they also understand what kind of a character you are. Anybody who indulges in double speak or anybody who indulges in all kinds of, airy fairy things and all, which they don't have any respect. They can't be called leaders. So there are some of these aspects which are quite common, whether you are from the armed forces or you are in any profession like yours, for example.
So Dr. Banerjee from Kolkata has an important question. If you look at the present and the future to come, has Kargil changed our approach as a country?
I would say Kargil, yes, it sent a very strong message to Pakistan when it comes to our relations. But what has changed is not soon after Kargil, but I would say in the last, say, about 14, 15 years, because now we have become more proactive. Strategically, we have now conveyed a message to our neighbors that look, you don't finger us, you don't trouble us, because we can also fire back and strongly. And that is what happened, whether it was uh, Pulwama, soon after Pulwama and Puri attacks. We went to Balakot, we went across the line of control. Similarly, what we did against China also on the 29th of August, we occupied Kailash range, that area. Subsequently, of course, in our negotiation, it was given to them. But I think that proactiveness has come in the last 14, 15 years. Before that, we were only reactive. Unfortunately, the political leadership, they are the ones who have to give us the orders. They were more reactive and not proactive. Now one has seen a change that has taken place.
True, sir.
Which is a good thing. And I must say that it's a good thing.
And sir, your final note and advice for healthcare professionals. How do you translate the discipline in soldiers, and how do we have this inculcate all those qualities for the medical professionals at large?
Look, as I was saying in my own presentation also, that the doctors are also frontline soldiers. There's hardly any difference. We fight one kind of war, you fight another kind of war. And therefore, having a sense of discipline amongst yourself is extremely important. As far as your sense of dedication is concerned, my wife is a doctor. She's sitting next to me now also. The fact is that you are very lucky to be in such a profession which looks after fellow citizens. I would consider it a great honor, really, that you have taken an oath to look after the patients, and that is what all the doctors are doing. And today, I think we have the best example when there is a pandemic going on. So just stick to those good principles that you have learned and keep working. And I can assure you, the whole nation respects you as much as they are respecting the armed forces. I have seen it myself. Today, if you ask somebody, and they will say, no, the doctor is my power. I can tell you that my wife, I take medicine only when she tells me. Otherwise, I don't go near the medicine. So we have to have that faith. And I would say that you're very lucky. You've done great work. With your hard work, you have become, you have qualified into a profession which is doing great service to the mankind, to the nation today. And we all look up to you for the kind of dedication that you are showing. Just continue to do that. And as far as I'm concerned, all my best wishes to all the doctor friends.
Our best wishes and sincere thanks and regards to Mrs. Malik also on this evening. And thank you, sir, very much for sparing this evening. You have made it very special for us. And it's truly great that mankind could get this meeting organized to listen to you for all our medical professionals. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jadhav. Thank you, Rajiv, Juneja, and all the friends from Mankind Pharma. And I wish all of you the best of luck, good health, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
I sincerely thank our honorable speakers for enlightening us today evening. Today's talk by General VP Malik reinforces our respect towards each one of you for unending efforts and undying spirit towards serving mankind during these challenging times. We salute each one of you. You are the true heroes of mankind. At Mankind, we are committed for serving life, and our commitment continues with the launch of API DMF grade dapagliflozin, which offers world-class quality at affordable price to each and every Indian patients. Thanks a lot, doctor, for joining us today and making our journey with Justoza and Justoza M more meaningful. Thank you very much.